Hi, my name is Morgan Doremus, and I'm sitting here with the fabulous Brandilyn Collins. Do you like that fabulous Brandilyn Collins?
I like that.
You get that a lot, I'm sure.
That's very well. No, but it's good. I'll take it.
Now, we're at the ACFW, which is a conference for Christian writers, Christian fiction writers, and you are kind of maybe one of the main focus here because your writing is so popular, bestseller, awards. I mean, you can't go anywhere in the industry without hearing your name. What is it really like to be kind of, I don't want to say the spokesperson, but really kind of the person that's oftentimes put up as this is great Christian writing, this is great inspirational writing with that suspense element in it?
Oh yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Well, this is cool. I didn't know this. But I'll take it. I worked for a solid 10 years to learn how to write fiction and never made a dime. So I put my dues in, you might say, And when I started to sell, I just kept selling and kept selling. My craft was finally there. But I mean, I have to tell you, it took 10 years for my craft to get there. I'm a student of the craft. That's probably why I'm a teacher of the craft. I've written a book on how to write the craft.
Exactly.
Yeah. So all of those things together, I think. Yes, I write continuously, but I'm continuing to learn. So I guess, it's great to hear you say what you say. For me, I'm always thinking, I'm always learning, So I always look at it from that side. But thank you very much. I am working on my 24th book. So I do at least have a few. But listen, there are people here who have written 95 and 120, and they make me look so piddling that, I've written 24. Oh, yay.
But one thing that you really have been able to do is you really are one of those authors that is a crossover, because not only do you get fans of inspirational fiction, but you also get the mainstream people who want a great suspense story, because that's really what you offer them. So you are both mainstream and inspirational. So it's kind of double bang for your buck, I guess.
My trademark, if you will, my trademark logo, it is literally trademarked. It's called Seatbelt Suspense. All right, Seatbelt Suspense comes with a 4-point brand promise. That is fast-paced, character-driven suspense with surprising twists and an interwoven thread of faith. So that interwoven thread of faith is the part in which the Christian message can come through, but it must be just totally natural to the story, and it depends upon who the character is and where the character's going. I never sit down to write Christian fiction. I don't. I sit down to write a rollicking good suspense. But somewhere along, and I don't know what the Christian message is either, somewhere along the way, that becomes clear to me as the characters, kind of show me what their inner issue is. There's always the story on the top, and then there's the story underneath. So I like my stories, even though you think of suspense as being plot-driven, I want my stories to have a raison d'etre, if you will, so that underneath there is a reason for being. Now, on the mainstream side, I also have readers who aren't necessarily Christian or churchgoers or any of that, but I hear this all the time. They love suspense, but they're really tired of wading through sex scenes and 4-letter words. For them, they just don't want it. And so what they say to me is, I'm just so happy I can just read a clean suspense. And the Christian message for them, it's there, but it's not, in my books, they're not really, it's not preachy or heavily done usually, because again, it's just sort of interwoven into the story. So yeah, I can kind of fall into both camps.
Well, let's talk a little more about your characters, because I was really liking what you were saying about how, your characters really do become the important, of course you have the mystery plot above it, and you do have, they're in peril, but your characters, they're so real and they're created, you can almost feel like you could go out to lunch with some of the women that you write, at least the ones that I've read. I was wondering, can you talk a little bit about creating your characters, because they're very much character driven. We get to know who the person is, which is difficult in suspense. Sometimes the action can take over, but not in your books.
Very difficult to balance. I do find that's a hard thing for me to balance. But for me, no matter how unique or fantastic the plot is, if you don't care about the characters, the reader's going to put the book down at page 30. They don't care. I've actually written a nonfiction book called Getting into Character, which is about how to create characters, and actually it's different techniques taken from the acting industry and techniques from method acting and tweaked for the novelist. But one big part in getting into character is how to, what I call personalize your character, which is, it's a way of interviewing your character, getting to know your character, if you will, from the inside out. Stanislavski, when he taught method acting, he talked about creating your character from the inside out. Too often, we authors create from the outside in. My character is 35 years old, she's shy. Well, I get a student that tells me that, I say, stop. Why is she shy? What is the core value deep within her gut that leads her? Because shyness is simply a personality trait. Where's that coming from? So what I do is teach people, authors, how to get down to the core values of the authors. And we all have them as people. It's really cool to personalize yourself. You will learn something about yourself, honey. I learned it about me. And so what drives this character? And from there, then, the character can end up driving the story. And that doesn't mean I'm not a plotter. I am a plotter. My stories are too tightly written to not be plotted. I have to know the twist that I'm writing to, because the truth, the actual truth, might be hidden in the very first line. So I have to know the truth I'm writing to. But at the same time, my characters can grow within that story.
Can you tell me about a couple characters that really stand out for you that you think are always going to be very close to your heart?
Oh my goodness! Let me see.
And don't say all of them, because I know authors get close to their characters.
No, but I'll tell you, I do. One is actually my next book coming out. It's called Gone to Ground. It's coming out next March 2012. I have 3 characters that are telling their own story in first person, so it's an ensemble cast, and it's in small town Mississippi. I have 2 white women, age 35, age 19, and then I have a black woman, age 62, I think she is. I love her. Her name is Cherry May. Cherry May Devine. Cherry May Devine, I got the name Cherry May from a real person that I interviewed in Mississippi. I love that name, Cherry May Devine. Cherry May Devine is she runs her own house cleaning business, so she's cleaned people's houses for years, black and white folk alike. She is self-taught in reading classic literature. She's loved classic literature for years, and she keeps a notebook and she writes down quotes. And she spouts these quotes from classic literature at strange times, just like they just pop out of her mouth. And I love that because it's such a juxtaposition to what her stature in life is, if you will. But she's this wonderfully beloved Christian woman in town, but Cherry May's got her own little secret, so yeah.
I was going to say everyone in this town, because the town's name is Amaryllis, correct?
Amaryllis.
And everyone in the town maybe has a little something going on underneath the surface.
I love to write about small towns because they have this intrigue going on. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody thinks they know everything about everybody. Oh, no, honey. The secrets are just deeper,
I love that we're getting a little piece of your next book, because I know at the RT offices, we oftentimes will get emails saying, what's next? I can't find out information. So I love that we're getting a little piece. Is there anything else you can tell us about your March book that just to get at readers? Gone to Ground.
This is a cool story. I love this story. I don't love my books when I'm writing them. I think they're horrid. But when they're done, I love them.
That's a pretty common artist feeling, I think.
We novelists are flakes. Listen, we're such flakes. Anyway, Gone to Ground. Small town Mississippi. There have been 5 murders and serial killings of women in their homes. Now, a 6th killing has just taken place. And now, to their horror, these 3 women that I mentioned, Dina, Tully, and Cherry May, realize that they know who the killer is. Someone very close to them. They're too scared to talk to anyone else. They're certainly not talking to each other. So they're keeping their knowledge to themselves. But on their own, independently, they have to make the horrible but moral choice to bring this man who is close to them down. But each of them suspects a different man. Is that fun?
And as the reader, we have to then go through and decide who we think.
What happens to the one who's right? What happens to the ones who are wrong? What happens to these 3 characters? So yes, this of all my novels is my most character-driven suspense, for sure.
It sounds fantastic.
March 2012. Gone to Ground. Order it now.